Sandra and I am the face behind Nomad Stitches. This is where I usually post my podcast, and I also post videos related to different crochet techniques that will help improve your skills and take them to a whole new level. Now today's video is all about the Juniper Pullover, which is this one that I am wearing here. Now this pullover is really fun for different reasons. The first one is that the construction is different. Usually you would work horizontally, and on the Juniper Pullover you work vertically. So you actually start on this side and you work the body and then the front, and then you go around and work the body, the back in one single body panel, and then you work the sleeves separately, and then you sew them here together. So this construction here is a compound raglan sweater, which means that it has similarities to raglan in the sense that it has a nice diagonal on the side, but it also works a little bit of the shoulder in this direction, so it sits really nicely on your shoulders, and it doesn't have that much extra fabric over here. Now I've done the large, so it's a little bit baggy on me. But that's what I wanted. I wanted a nice boxy look, and you know, there is a little bit of extra fabric, but that's just because of the extra material that I have compared to my bust. The other factor, that the only part that I really like about this sweater is these little flowers on the side. So it's a nice lace pattern. Super easy to make, and there's also a video for this if you're interested. I'm gonna put the link over here for you to get on to how to make these little flowers. And the other thing that I also really like is the scalloped edge at the bottom. So as you can see, the pattern kind of continues and you make these little waves at the bottom, and I just really like the way that looks. I think it's super fun and super cute. And another thing that I also really like about this one is the stitch. So the stitch used is called a double slip stitch, or some people also call it a modified half double crochet. And it's very simple to make, but it does take a little bit of practice, improving your skills to make it faster. But after a little while you get used to it, and it works really easily. And if you wanna know exactly how to make that stitch, I'm going to put the link of the video over here. So I've made another video only for working double slip stitch and double slip stitch on the back loop only. All right, so check it out, and if you're making this pattern, then go use that video to make your gauge swatch so that you are familiar with the stitch, and then come back here. Now this stitch and this same construction is the one used in my City Lights pattern, which is in Pom Pom Mag on issue 35, which just came out. Is the winter issue of 2020. I think it's on pre-order now at the moment. So if you are making this jumper, the City Lights, you can also use this video to know how to do the increases. So the whole jumper basically works on increases at the top and increases at the bottom to make the scallops. And there's basic rules for how to make the increases and the decreases. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make the increases and the decreases needed for this pattern and for City Lights, but I will also show you how to make the color pops on the City Lights. So how to make the color changes for that, or for any future designs in which I use this same stitch. Okay, so this is going to be a really helpful video for anything related with double slip stitch. All right, but once you know how to work these increases and decreases, it will go so easily because the pattern really is quite straightforward. So knowing this will get you on your way to finishing really easily. So let's get started with those increases and decreases and color changes in double slip stitch. Remember, if you are interested in more videos or in getting notified whenever I post something new, please do subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to like and comment on this video because it helps me with the algorithm with YouTube, and I would love to share what I have with more people. So please help me out, like the video, comment, and tell me what you think about it. And don't forget to subscribe to get notified of future videos. Alright, so let's get started with our double slip stitch increases and decreases. Alright, so this is the beginning of my swatch to show you how to increase. So I've worked 2 rows. This is row number 1 and this is row number 2. And I am at the edge. And I've put a marker on the last stitch so that you can see how I increase and decrease, and it's easier to count your stitches after that marker, which is how the pattern is also worked. So I'm on the last stitch of the row. To increase 1, I will simply make another double slip stitch in that last stitch. So double slip stitch there, and I have increased 1. So you can see where the marker is, and I have 1 more. Now remember that all of these double slip stitches are done on the back loop only, okay? Now to increase 1 at the beginning of a row is the same idea. On my first stitch of the row, I make 2 double slip stitches, and I always chain 1 for that extra height, right? So 1 and 2. And I can continue working on my row. So I will pass my marker to mark where the original beginning was. And it's easy to count my stitches like this because I know where the marker is. And then I have 1 and 2 stitches. The first stitch is easy to lose. So either place a marker there if you think you will lose it, or make sure that you are counting your stitches so that it's clear where the last one is. So I will work the end of my row and come back to this point to do increases by 2 next. Alright, I'm back to my original beginning of the row. There is my marker. So I will work my last 2 stitches, and then I will increase 2 at the end of the row. So to increase 2 at the end of the row, I need to make a foundation double slip stitch. For that, I will yarn over, insert my hook into that last place where my last stitch was made, and then I yarn over, pass through 1 loop, and I hold on to this loop, and then I finish passing that same loop through my other 2 loops on my hook. So I'll show you again. Yarn over, insert my hook in that same place where the last stitch was worked, yarn over, pull through, then I yarn over again, I pull through my first loop, and I hold on to that loop, and then I pull through the other 2 loops on my hook. And then on this same loop that I'm holding, that's where I will work my last double slip stitch. So yarn over and make a double slip stitch in that same loop. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 extra stitches after my marker. So I will show you one more time how to make that double slip, that increase 2 at the end of the row. So yarn over, insert hook, pull through, yarn over, pull through 1 loop, hold on to it, and then continue to pull through the last 2 loops. And then make a double slip stitch in that loop that I am holding. And that's it. Now increase 2 at the beginning of the row. For that, I will chain 2, and I turn, and on the second chain from my hook, I will make 2 double slip stitches. 1 and 2. And then I continue in pattern, which in this case is double slip stitch on the back loop only. So far I have done 2 increases of 1 and 2 increases of 2, which is 6 stitches. So after my marker, I should have 6 stitches. Let's check. So there you go. 1 right there. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to work again all the way to this point, and we're going to do a long increase at the end and at the beginning of the row. Alright, so now I am at the top again. There is my marker, and I have worked 6 stitches after my marker. And now we know how to increase 1 at the end and at the beginning of the row. We know how to increase 2 at the end and at the beginning of the row. And now we are going to learn how to increase 3 or more at the end or the beginning of the row. So for that, I'm going to increase 5. So to increase 5 at the end of the row, you are going to make foundation double stitches, and you're going to make 1 foundation double stitch less than the increase calls for. So if I am increasing 5, I'm going to make 4 foundation double slip stitches. So let's start. 1 foundation double slip stitch, then 2, remember to hold on to that loop, 3, and the last one, 4. Now in this last loop that I am holding from my 4th double slip stitch, I will work 1 more double slip stitch there. And there you go. So remember, I wanted to increase 5, so I make 4 foundation double slip stitches, and then I make 1 more double slip stitch in the loop from the last foundation stitch. So now that I have done my increase 5 at the end of the row, I'm going to increase 5 at the beginning of the next row. And for that, I'm going to chain 1 more than the increased number of stitches. So if I am increasing 5, I will chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I am going to start working my stitches on the second chain from my hook. So I will leave the first chain empty and I will work from the second chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I continue working in pattern, which is double slip stitch on the back loop only, and I continue on my stitches. So far I have done 2 increase 1s, 2 increase 2s, and 2 increase 10s. 2 increase 5s, which should be 16 stitches after my marker. So let's get to our marker and then make sure that we have the right amount of stitches. Okay, there's my marker, so I'm going to pass my marker. And there is my row. So let's see. And 16 stitches. Alright, so that is how to do increases for the Juniper Pullover and for City Lights. Now we're going to do the same thing, but we are going to decrease this time. So I'm going to work all the way to my marker and then we will start with the decreases. Okay, so I am back to my marked stitch right here, and I have 16 stitches after the marker, right? So now I am going to decrease 5 at the end of a row. So remember that this technique is used for any decrease that is 3 or more. So for this one, I will simply leave empty the stitches that I want to decrease. So if I'm decreasing 5, I will work until 5 stitches from the end and I will leave those empty. Alright, so there are my 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to leave those empty, and now I have 11 stitches from my marked stitch, so I have decreased 5 at the end of a row. So to decrease 3 or more, I will chain 1 and I will skip the first stitch, and then I will slip stitch into both loops of the next x minus 1 stitches. What does this mean? It means that I will do 1 less slip stitch than the stitches that I am decreasing. So I will skip the first stitch, and if I am decreasing 5, then I will do 4 slip stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I have decreased 5 stitches because I've skipped that first one. right? So if it says decrease 10, then I will skip the first one and I will slip stitch in the next 9. If it says decrease 20, I will skip the first one and then slip stitch in the next 19. So always one less than the decrease calls for. And now I should have 6 stitches, right? Because I have decreased 5 and then I decreased 5 before. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I can now continue with my row. Okay, so I will continue working this row and then come back at the top on the next row and show you how to make the next set of decreases. Alright, so I am now back at my mark stitch, and now I am going to decrease 2 at the end of a row. So for that I need to work to the last 3 stitches. So that means that I work 3 more. 1, 2, and 3. And I have, those are my last 3 stitches, right? Because before that, these are slip stitches, they don't count anymore. So 1, 2, 3 are my last stitches. And now I am going to do a double slip stitch below 2 together in the next 2 stitches. So for that, I yarn over, insert my hook, pull through, and then insert my hook into my next stitch, pull through. In this loop that I've just pulled through, I'm going to pull through all 3 loops on my hook. So I'm going to show you again. Yarn over, insert hook, pull through. Insert hook in the next stitch, pull through. And this last loop that I have on my hook, I'm going to pass through all 3 loops on my hook. And that's it. That's how you decrease 2 at the end of a row. And to decrease 2 at the beginning of the row, I will chain 1, skip that very first stitch and make a double slip stitch below 2 together in the next 2 stitches. So 1, insert hook, pull through, and then pull through all 3 loops on my hook. And then continue in pattern, which is a double slip stitch. So I have decreased 4 in the last 2 rows, which means that I only have 2 stitches after my marker. So I will work my next row again, and then I will show you how to decrease 1. Alright, so to decrease 1 at the end of a row, I need to work until the last 2 stitches of the row, which happens to be the mark stitch at the moment because I have those 2 stitches at the end of my row. So now I will skip the penultimate stitch and make a slip stitch below on the last stitch. So I skip this guy and I go to the last stitch. That last stitch can be a little bit hidden sometimes, but I'm sure you can find it. And that's it. And now to decrease 1 at the beginning of a row, I simply chain 1 and skip that first stitch and then continue on to the next one, which happens to be my marked stitch. And now I am back to 0 stitches after my marker. And that's it. These increases and decreases, these techniques will tell you how to make all of the shaping in the City Light Pullover and also in my Juniper Pullover. Now, the other big part that is necessary to understand when working the City Lights is color changes. And this is something that I will use in other patterns, so I think it's good for you to know now. So in order to color change in this stitch, you have to start the stitch with the old color. Then you insert your hook. And then you drop the yarn on your wrong side. So depending where your wrong side of the fabric is, that's where you will drop it. If the wrong side is the back of your work, then you will drop it there. If the wrong side is the front of your work at the moment, then you will drop it there. And then use your new color, to pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Now, depending on the pattern, for example, for City Lights, you need to carry over that gray. For other patterns, it might not be necessary, but if you need to carry it over, then you want to hide it inside your stitches as you continue working in double slip stitch below, and it is there with you. Okay, if you're working, for example, an intarsia pattern, you won't need to carry it over. Alright, now I want to change again to my gray color, so I will yarn over with my green, insert my hook, and then again, which one is my wrong side? I think this front side is my wrong side, so I will leave it there, and I will finish my stitch with the new color. Alright, I'm going to show it to you again, just so that it's nice and clear. So I'm working with my green, I start my stitch, I don't yarn over again, I simply put it in the back, pick up my new color, and I finish my stitch with that new color. Okay? That's because this is going to be the wrong side of my fabric, and the right side of my fabric is going to have the V's. Now, if you want to make sure that your stitches are even neater, before you change colors, so I yarn over, put my hook, pass it to the back, and before you change, just pull a little bit on this new color, because you've been carrying it over. And for it to be nice and taut, you want to pull it and then pull through. Alright, so this is what the right side is going to look like. There are some V's there, and the wrong side is going to look like this. Alright, so I think that's all. That's all you need to know to complete both the Juniper Pullover and the City Lights Pullover. Alright guys, well, I really hope you enjoyed that video. I hope that now all of these increases and decreases are super clear and that you are on your way to working your jumper. Again, feel free to email me. Like every time, I always put my email here, sandra@nomadstitches.com. Send me an email or comment on the video and I will do my best to help you out. And if you want links to the pattern or to Pom Pom Magazine or to this yarn is worked with 6 and 7 fibers. I will put all the links below, so feel free to look at them and sign up to my newsletter, follow me on Instagram, subscribe to my channel, and tell me about yourself. Alright, I hope you've enjoyed it and I will see you next time. Bye bye, have a great day.